Hola amigos, bien o no, mis saludos desde Inglaterra. Otro día muy frío aquí hoy, pero ese no es el tema hoy. Hoy el tema es cómo podemos hablar de cosas muy ordinarias. Para hablar con este tipo de cosas muy normal, que no son dramáticos o exitosos, cosas normal, pero sin parecer muy aburrido. ¿Es posible o no? Bueno, yo creo que sí, es posible. Y entonces, para ilustrar estas, yo voy a compartir un poquito de este libro, de Bradbury, Golden Apples of the Sun. Fue un escritor maravilloso, especialmente en los casi años 50, especialmente, pero maravilloso escritor. Y él escribe aquí una historia muy cortico y ustedes pueden leer el poco más para entender qué pasó en la historia, pero yo quiero compartir la primera parte porque él solo es un descriptivo con un señor que en esta corto historia es un pasarero, un hombre que recoge la basura. Eso es un trabajo muy ordinario, ¿no? Con un routine normal, pero él describir esto es muy bien en una forma que es interesante. Esta es la idea de hoy, para mostrar que sí es posible, para describir cosas que parecen muy ordinario, pero en una forma que no es aburrido. So that's the challenge for today. To look around us at things that look very ordinary, things we don't notice, things in our routine that's just the same every day. But to look to see if there is a way that we can describe that, to practice with our vocabulary and do it in a way that's not boring, like perhaps the task may seem. If we can find interest even in the ordinary or the routine, has a whole different look to the way we use the language. But let's read a bit of this short story from Ray Bradbury. So this is story number 19 in this little book, The Golden Apples of the Sun. It's published around about 1950, 53, I think. The Garbage Collector. This is how his work was. He got up at 5 in the cold, dark morning and washed his face with warm water if the heater was working and cold water if the heater was not working. He shaved carefully, talking out to his wife in the kitchen, who was fixing him ham and eggs or pancakes or whatever it was that morning. By 6 o'clock, he was driving on his way to work alone and parking his car in the big yard where all the other men parked their cars as the sun was coming up. The colours of the sky that time of morning were orange and blue and violet, and sometimes very red and sometimes yellow, or a clear colour like water on white rock. Some mornings he could see his breath on the air, and some mornings he could not. But as the sun was still rising, he knocked his fist on the side of the green truck, and his driver, smiling and saying hello, would climb in the other side of the truck, and they would drive out into the great city and go down all the streets until they came to the place where they started work. Sometimes on the way they stopped for black coffee and then went on, the warmness in them. And they began the work, which meant that he jumped off in front of each house and picked up the garbage cans and brought them back and took off their lids and knocked them against the bin edge, which made the orange peels and cantaloupe rinds and coffee grounds fall out and thump down and begin to fill the empty truck. There were always steak bones and the heads of fish and pieces of green onion and stale celery. If the garbage was new, it was not so bad, but if it was very old, it was bad. He was not sure if he liked the job or not, but it was a job, and he did it well, talking about it a lot sometimes, and sometimes not think of it in any way at all. Some days the job was wonderful. If you were out early and the air was cool and fresh, until you had worked too long and the sun got hot and the garbage steamed early. But mostly it was a job significant enough to keep him busy and calm, and looking at the houses and cut lawns he passed by and seeing how everybody lived. And once or twice a month he was surprised to find that he loved the job and that it was the finest job in the world. Well, very short reading there. I'll leave you to find out how the story ends. But if you get a chance, can't go wrong with Ray Bradbury. Terrific writer. But that's the challenge of the day. Think about it. He's just described there in very short words a very ordinary type of job. But it's still quite interesting, yeah? The way he's done it. So that shows us that it is possible, even with fairly mundane, fairly routine, what might appear quite a boring kind of thing and task or occupation. If you look carefully, you can find interesting ways to describe it. And that's a way of looking around you for inspiration, because if we find more inspiration in what we see around us, we're more likely to be able to use our vocabulary in more imaginative ways, and then we get that kind of a virtual loop where we see more reasons we can use our language well, we feel more confident that we can, and again it gets us to look for more opportunities to try that again. So try it. Déjame saber en los comentarios, como siempre. But for now, we'll say cheerio.